Dumbo, John, the the worship the Jemba, Jew, Due, Kalu, Lana, Meba, Lana, Menam, the Baba, Jone, Peja, Jaja, Tuba, La Chate, Lo Chudu, Jazo, Dumba, John, the Jeba, Rajumba, Yanda, Tobe, Sanje, Vada, Jago. The worship of the Jemba, Jewu, Kalu, Yuba, Eba, Mena, Jedumba, Sanje, Jotin, Peja, Shaya, Tuba, Shate, Lo Chudu, Jago, Jewu. Dumba, John, the Shi, Sheba, Rajumba, Yanda, Barazobe, Rebodon Shasu Demba, the worship of the Temple, Jewu, Kalu, Yuba, Lana, Eba, Lada, Menange, Dumba, Sange, Joden, the Vejewa, Shaya, Tuba, Shasu, Josu, Jazu, Gandhi, Gandhi, Zo, Jadanzi, Sajindi, Gomba, Dumbo, Nane, Jidi, Dina, Shosi, Dese, Jebo, Jula, Jaza, Nanda, Kuma, Chodu, Zuzan, Ishi, Jazo, Segi, Mumbora, Rabba, Jidi, Suna, Lame, Gombo, Chedi, Jula, Jaza, Senjo Tembo Jime Dave Jo, Zendo Jo, Jula Jo, Tuje Juna Siba Suna Chi, Nyame Jini Jula Jo, Gombo Tuje Jedemba, Tamje Kembe Tembo Bo, Sona Yundi Gyasu Je, Dejin Shela Jo, Tabe de Jaja Vargir, Wen Yison Le Projin, Jido Tenan Jijoba, Shigir Jela Jo, Rode Joven Ayane, Babo Dala Radu, Eje Damba Yundin, Gindu Laya Chaza, Deba Xiang Mecha Xin, Jewa Kusum Sobargir, Range Sene Yonsundu, Nene Sange Tembaye, Karamara Marmedan, Yuma Sewa Shukurdan, Melam Lodan Jindabu, Dije Chunan Didarda, Sanande Tamje Sebayi, Goban Tone Kenge Radu, Gada nada chive lapchule, sive sole, drova drova. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, nor of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent, destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a frame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits, my sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the flow of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death.
Papa Kunjo Sola Cha Selo Dige Dage Soba Duje Na Chunde De Gyobu Jago Bumbori Longe Longe Gidu Chumbo Dang Chanju Sembe Gindu Chumbo Dang Tawa Jidu Shude De Ze Chunde De Zamona Wa Shi Jawe Shuge Namrangi Dinge Zela Nyongpa Shuzo Yang Te Se Tanju Zemba Zemba Jembo Baba Chinese Wanju Shera Di Paru Jimba Samo Niba Nila Namara Tashin Bumbo Ngabo De Dalaya Ranjin Ge Tomba Namba Tao Dene Sange Ge Tu Sedan Demba Sharibu Janju Zemba Zemba Jembo Baba Chinese Wanju La Dike Jimeso Kanala Shera Di Paru Jimba Samo Jeba Juba Juba De Chidar La Parasha Dege Meba Dan Chanju Semba Semba Jumbo Baba Jereze Wanjuki Sedan Demba Shari Da Debula Dege Meso Sharibu Rigi Bumo Kanala Shera Di Paru Jimba Samo Jeba Juba Duba Ditar Nambar Tawa Chade Umbo Ngabo Deda Yang Ranji Tombar Nambar Yanda Ba Jesu Tau Su Tomba Ni Susu, Sule Tomba Ni Shimayan, Tomba Ni Lekan, Su Shimayan, Deshindu Chorbadan, Dishidan, Number Shiba, Nam Tomba, Ocharebu, Deda Chudan, Tomba Ni De Sini Meba, Majeba, Magapa, Chimame. Shimadan Jawar Jiwa Meba, Gama Meba, Ocharebu, Deda Wena, Tomba Nila, Lume, Sorwa Me, Dishime, Number seven me, name, jeme, lume, yime, zume, rame, jime, rome, rejame, zume, do, miki, game, bane, igi, kame, igi, number shibe, kangi, batu, yamme, do. Mariba seba, kashi, sebe, batu, yamme, do. Deshindu dunga wadang, kunjung wadang, gopadang, lame, yishi me, thopa me, ma, thopa ya me, do, sharibu, teta, wina, janju zemba, na, thopa me, be, shira, je, para, do, jimba, la, deji, ne, de, simla, tepa, me, jin, chaba, me, de, jinje, lole, shindu, de, ne, nyangi, le, debe, thar, shindu, de, zondu, number, shube, sangi, ramchi, kyan, shira, je, para, do, jimba, la, de, ne, sana, me, ba, yang, do be chanju do ombara do ma sa je so de da na shira je par tu chembe nga re ba chembe nga la na me be nga mi nya ba da nya be nga tume tham je ra tu shi war shi be nga mi zu we na dem ba she ba cha de shira ge par tu chembe nga me ba ta ya ta ga de para sang ga de bodhi so Charibu chanju samba samba jembu teta sheraki haru du samba samba la la varjao tene jomde de dinge tende le shengde chanju samba samba jembu baba jene ze wanju la lekso shejawa jene lekso viji pu de shino de shinde shinde chuki temba shindu sheraki haru du jembu samba la chembara jade de sheba namya jesu yirango Degi, Degi, Ka, Zene, Zedan, Demba, Shareda, De, Bodan, Chanju, Semba, Semba, Jumbo, Baba, Jele, Se, Wanchu, Dan, Tamjida, Dembe, Koro, Deda, Dan, Padam, Midan, Hamayidan, Jisa, Chebe, Chidi, Yiran, De, Chonden, Degi, Sumba, Langumbra, Thus I have heard once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha on Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena, called profound illumination. And at the same time, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty.
Then through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, replied to the Venerable Shariputra, saying, O Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom gone beyond, should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, karmic formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no karmic formations, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor is there destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all Bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond. And because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times, by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, the mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as the truth, for there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed Daya Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhiswaha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
모두 시다도 사님 보고 있다. 전주 사자 주선배 저벌로 주바사. 제가 생주선배 저벌로 주바사인데 전주선배 저바디야 뭐시 뭐지. 텔레 태선 거는 로바텔라. 아니 상주선배 저벌로 주바스. 된 생기. 된지 된지가 코버를 해서
Thank you. And now it is Thursday and we resume the way of the Bodhisattva. It is to enter the way of the Bodhisattvas, the Charya, the conduct of the Bodhisattvas. One understands what that Charya is and enters it through the study, contemplation, and meditation upon it. And all of this is contained in the title, The Way of the Bodhisattva. Understand that.
세상과 전주선배 저바선 전주선배 저바도 그래. 사 당무디 저바도 집 모션 거 모두 마시나니 저바를 롭세 저바를 죽세. 나는 그 당무 죽에 시디 모션 거와 모션에 된다 전주선배 저바선에. 그 전주선배 저바선에 됐다. 또 계시죠 당무 전주선 줄래 깨바체. 전주선배 줄래 깨차나니 전주선배 저바선에. 나는 저도 저바도 친루고 냠래. 간다 랑규 멤버십에 친구냐면 신규 멤버십에 대외 공부식 냐면 생각 어디 따로 냐면 난 거야 대차되어 그래서
What is the conduct of the Bodhisattva? That is the leading question, for without consideration of this, there would be no comprehension of what one would endeavor to do. One has to have the basis of an understanding of what the practices are so that one can engage in them. And therefore, we ask, what are the behaviors of the Bodhisattva? First, the mind of enlightenment is developed. And after this, then 10 practices, 6 perfections for the ripening of one's own continuum, and 4 perfections ripening the continua of others, the 4 means of gathering disciples. These are the practices that one undertakes.
Oh yeah, that's your ball love it, she be what you say. That's your ball love it, to the Shavana, so you should be your love it, to do the digital love, to do the digital love, Marissa. You did to around the Mizina, and it's kind of to do carry you, but some use some job love it, to do about beautiful quarters. Some use some job of Malawi to do some pursuit or Marcena. You do pay Nima in it, Loy in it, Dawa in it. Keba Bowie in a Karinata to do Ringo, Keba and Tungu Nima Batola. And that goes with Jobatam, using the Jobala love to or
Then those are the activities. And from the standpoint of the period, the time in which one undertakes them, there's no time to say, this is the time for practicing the conduct of bodhisattvas, and this is another time. It is the present time, in this present life, whatever the time, that is the very time that is transformed into the moment of the practice of the bodhisattva. There's no other time at all. From the day to the month to the year to the eon, no matter the span of time, it's the present moment and conduct of body, speech, and mind at the present moment, and an ability to make it a bodhisattva conduct that is meant.
Oh, yeah, then you might see a chashava in a young, and you might see that around the Nimachi Chasha to get Tamje Karicheva in it. Alasa in it, Obajava in it, never in it, and it's Chawa Karicheva in it, the Ganga, Chanjus in the Jobalaya, Jebeki, Yula, Jobala, love to a door at least quarter.
Then in any ordinary day, no matter the activities in that day, eating, walking, sleeping, whatever the activity, that they all become the very conduct of the bodhisattva, cause for such conduct, and the very training itself is the intention.
Oh, yeah, that's so super. I'm mixed those chain, but Chanjus the Joba Kashig, I mean, Penachet. Hadang the Juju to make just a chimbo Shivala. Nig Yamen so chain, Nig Yamena, and the Chanju same jam. The Tonling in Yamen, Sanjus with Yamen jam to the Sigora. And then I see Lojong, like Yamen Susu to mixation to the Yamen chat, the day Chashi or response.
I let the Lojong Ginyamlan mix with Kawashik.
So mix a penat, just a chimbo Shivala, Nina, Yamen Chidua. And I see Lojong Yamen Penagishi Podo or Sashavina. Midabako, long maps. Tang up at any shigre, Tang Mashikon, Petri Yamnichi to a call. Imagine a pay in Mizitra to work and Yamnichi, long man Yamins. What in the Susu, mixing Yamni the chair, your resource.
There are the individual practices of adepts that are the charya of the Bodhisattva. For instance, Shantideva's primary practice being the practices undertaken while sleeping, training in the mind of awakening, exchanging and equalizing self and others, awakening bodhicitta during sleep. Such were Shantideva's unique adept practices. And then there are practices in the tradition of thought transformation, for instance, of Potoa, to continually meditate upon impending death and momentariness, with the awareness that tomorrow I may well die. If I were to fail to practice now, then my life would have been squandered. Each adept with their unique practices.
What is the national answer? Susu, you should have you cut a bang and let's do with it. Never that year Yamlin to Supresh, Sanju Senguja and Yalam chair, and then Suzuki. Sailor, Chilo, Chizo, Lava situation to Sibin Yamen chair. Rangi says I do Yamen chair, that can Suzuki, Majinama chair, Yamen chairs among your reasons.
Now, in a 24-hour period, when there are practices of awakening of bodhicitta during sleep, and then there are practices too for individuals outside working in society, there too, there being the charya of the Bodhisattva available. It's only a personal failure to actually undertake one of the many practices one would when there are so many that one may.
Oh, yeah, that daughter to really share by now, that I use some yamlin chairs beyond Suzuki, the Jamusin with Yamlin chair to do my materials, the legend, Majiva actually use subject on Yamlin chair, yours. And Suzuki conduct and then imagine us. Saja Niku, Sava United, Deva United, Droa United, Neva United, Courage, our chair, the Giddy Ganga, Ganga Gavola Troya, San Jusen by Jula Troya, Joba Payula Troya, Amen and Madoya. And Yamlin did all Chipu your lessons.
In short, the conduct of the Bodhisattva is available for a continuous conduct. It isn't that there is a certain time and moment for it and another that is not ideal for it. Every hour in the 24 hours of the day is the moment for the charya of the Bodhisattva. And in a day, when one is eating, when one is sitting, when one is in motion, when one is sleeping, whatever the moment, that moment may direct its activity toward virtue, toward cause of the awakening of bodhicitta, toward conscientiousness, inconscientiousness, away from negligence. These are continually the charya of the Bodhisattva.
Oh, yeah, that you might check the Yapuchmoina. And it didn't logic the Yapu, logic the Yapu, the message the Yapu side. That was message Yapudi, and it had an imagine Yapon and go to response.
So then, day by day and month by month and year by year, the entire life becomes constructive, and that constructive life begins in each day's activity.
What is it? Sedan Indizamada, Manando, Chanjus and the Joba and Yamechi is the Lo Jema in Specie, not under Koro Pome, Jema Chigi, and dig some Lotite and some Lo Chigilo, Lo Segita, Tir to Jatilo Tires. Jemachi Chogre, Talut to Zoom into Lojamachi in Sambato, Handami to Jamachi in Sambato, and it's a delay on some Chimachi in Sambagit. Lodi, Amazula, Janju Sem Comela, Parjechi Yegan to show not to show the Chavio, Lochingilo, losing the response.
Practices of the Bodhisattva that are available, nevertheless, are by some mistakenly postponed inevitably. A person says, next time, now is not the moment. And this attitude is destructive. It's a mistaken attitude to imagine that later on or next year, another time, but not now, not this life perhaps, but next life, another time will do. Such an attitude interferes, disables what would be the moment for developing the mind of awakening. So it is a pernicious, wrong view.
Oh, they tried the Sanju Sem Chetan Marando, that Nima Chig, now taking on the shepherd, Nima Chig. Now, some Caritawa in Luga used to Juba Kandis Sheva Yina Yang, the Ye Ganga, Rana, the Autoviata. To me, say, Jack, public go to Wazuna, and it's Juba Payu was in the Chava, as much.
Then, in any day, as I have said now, in body, speech, and mind, through body, speech, and mind, whatever the activity, every activity would be a conscientious activity insofar as it caused later one's contentment and caused to the elimination of any cause for discontent personally, and this is conscientiousness.
Oh, to say, that's you send to you on the channel Juba Lovan the that Bangja the new movie Tony Lobja Chebaina, and it's Rangi Chow, Kari Chebaina, Ranchinzingi. Wang Mashura, Ranjinzigi, Maleva, Shenjinzigi, some look to Simba or the Ligi in Jimmy Gore response.
Then these comments from the standpoint of the time, and then two regarding that which is to be abandoned and that which is to be taken up as the very essence. That which is to be abandoned is pathological self-love, the self-cherishing mind. That which is to be adopted and taken in as the essence is the mind that cherishes others.
방인이 보내. 다 제부 위치는 제발 세바이나. 다 장주sem 냠내 징에도 제부 치쇼. 다 제부 대화 제부 장주sem 제부 대화가 나는 대외 초도 주고 대화 치쇼. 아니 도지창게 고방 산지지 고방스게 두베들에 손을.
That then that which is to be abandoned. From the standpoint of the result, when bodhicitta, the mind of awakening, is the practice, it results in bliss, and of all bliss, the supreme bliss of the state of Vajradhara.
야, 빨리 총바지를 빼자라는 총바지는 총바지가 총견이 망고요를 망고나네. 아니 총바 캡산 치슐랭에 줘라. 디츠도 말아서 대화 dum니게 나는 대화 초도 주고 대화 치슈도 주고 있어. 디 주베가 단달라 이 창조스는 로브 이스기가 해서.
Just as there are entrepreneurs and many of them, and then there's one who strides ahead finding the greatest profits. Likewise, we would achieve the greatest bliss of all contentment, that which is supreme bliss, the state of Vajradhara, and therefore I undertake in the causes of the mind of awakening and training.
자세 장주sembe 쩌발로 주바세데 뒤지고네 방예지고네 제부고네 어디지고네 아니 바가다 줄러로비아 아니 배윤되게 셴바제 셴나 아니 트로알레나 아니 장주sem 람두 두바디유나 랍두 칼레요 말 내가 하고서 랍두고래서
Then these are the activities of the Bodhisattva. This is the very way of the Bodhisattva, spoken of in terms of the time, of that which is abandoned, of that which results from the training. And so the causes for that result we train in, and when we become aware of the result, we become, in that awareness, enthusiastic for the training, and from that enthusiasm, the natural aspiration arises to engage in the trainings, and where that aspiration is natural, then the trainings too become easy.
예, 근데 인도에서마다 단다 주주료 시바나라 바유게 료 바유 밤에다 바유 승에디 아니 단만한도 뒤유기 냠랭기 용하게 시기 싸워도 바유디 여바이나 안람 냠랭 차단 치투고 여바 밤에 되게 왕게 아니 저랑하다 안다르 저바 냠랭 춘 제일 바제치기 여바 데리지는 아니 바
Therefore, the topic of the fourth chapter, the title of the fourth chapter, conscientiousness. There is conscientiousness. There is a lack of conscientiousness, negligence. Conscientiousness becomes the very basis, the foundation for success in all practices. But where one is negligent, this invites interference and obstacles along the way.
도시 들레 제가 이제 가진 것도 제가 들어보면은 다게 쩌방 대단히 미 한번 톱이 유스가서 단단 안 한도 봐요 그 쩌바디 때마토 봐이나 아니 미류 톱고 말 톱을 교교 말했어 톱을 교회가 요 봐요도 제거를 대체요 말했어 아니 미류 마토 봐이나 아니 다 가르치 두고 말했으나 아니 바유 땐 두고 말해 개와도 두고 말해 개와 루마도 바이나 아니 디과 바시 두고 디과 두나 아니 내 손을 깨야마도 대로를 깨기 말해 미를 토야요 말했어 어디지 손
And so we resume then with the 19th verse. Never there performing any virtue, only ever piling up my sins, and for 100 million ages I'll not ever hear of happy destinies. On page 56. The meaning being, the precious human rebirth is inherited by causes that are virtue. Virtues are engaged in through conscientiousness. Where conscientiousness is absent, where there is negligence, there is only non-virtue. Where there is only non-virtue, there's no promise of greater fortune, only the promise of greater misfortune. And so where there is only that misfortune of a rebirth in the hell realm, there in that hell realm, one cannot undertake to be conscientious, therefore one cannot accumulate virtues. One exclusively and only engaging continually in non-virtue, therefore assuring continued experience of hellish experience.
뭐야? 네, 덴도 톱에 한다. 하나 덴도 톱 되어서 덴도 톱들이 아니 겨데 배간다 아유고 줘봐 때문에 아니 양조 세만 덴도를 깨봐 맞이나 아니 제마 깨버 치마도나 아니 제마 nghệ 손을 깨봐 이나 아니 랑도를 내라 몽네 아니 라야 밀루 톱아 하장게 까고 임바 셰 지도라 아니 대용마 학생 그 슈버들도 예 간세 계제 깬데야 여왔다게 맞제나 nghệ 손 동에 꾸모시 디 대제다게 지차유스 그다 니슈에 이슈림데 아들 양겹 간세 간세 계제 깬데 가지 타마타마데 간세 계제 깬데 여왔다게 맞제나 알레 컨트롤 nghệ 손 동에 꾸모데 대제다게 지차유스
The interpreter's mistake. It was first verse 17, page 55, the preceding comments. Now, presently we have achieved the precious human rebirth, a fortunate rebirth. With a fortunate rebirth, we are able to be conscientious. With this, a human rebirth and the ability to be conscientious, if we don't again secure a fortunate rebirth, but instead fall into a lower realm, there in the lower realm, in the hell realms, we will be mystified, bewildered regarding that which is to be practiced and that which is to be rejected. Then, without any understanding of this, it is difficult to ever again achieve a fortunate rebirth. And so, describing just this, the 18th verse on page 55, here is now my chance for wholesome deeds, but if I fail to practice virtue, what will be my lot? What shall I do, bewildered by the sorrows of the lower realms?
뭐야? 드링 단다 드링 칙디기 냐면을 따는 가르시하고 드링 안 하소. 배다 간다 뒤에서 밀루 톱 튕제 차당 상네. 최 제약이다 튕제 수수고 맞이는 마도 제약 튕제 차당 상태와. 배께와다 댐바 뒤에서 유바. 튕제 창와 뒤에서 상고 이바. 다 뒤에서 상고 딜라 아니 다 바유 때네라는 게 줘봐 맞이나 아니 대한민국의 손을 깨기래 이거 손을 깨나 랑도르게 내라 럭트리하게 자진 강해 요 말 매일 가는 양조 몸배와 동행 잡은 용거래 동행 주는 용거래 이 냐말할 때는 양조 보내 보 내손을 양조 보내 깨야 레사 그래 또 제단래 다들 땅에 손을 깨잖아 아니 답시 강해 매와 어디 땡기 열에 손
Reading these verses, what would one comprehend, which would inform one's practice? One would understand that the present moment is the opportune moment, a special moment wherein one has inherited a human body, in which all the conditions for practice are present. It is responsibility risks with one and oneself alone. One may fail to make use of the conditions, the present conditions, the fortunate moment, the ample opportunity, and failing to use the present conditions of a human body, failing to be conscientious, being negligent. If one were to fall into a hell realm, there one will be mystified, unaware of practices that one would adopt and practices one should abandon in order to secure greater fortune, and mystified regarding the practices to adopt and reject. Then one experiences the hell realms continuously, experiences intense pain for long periods without any hope, and continues to cycle again and again in the hell realms. So there is no hope when one falls to the lower realms.
오예, 지금 손내라 말레 사나 아니 다 공자세 요 말에 깨제 티세 요 말에 아니 다 탑신다 가요 말에서 말럽에 지금 거기에 단다 지금에 제일 책이 있어서 지금 어자서도 근데 가요 말에서 탑시 매버 차버렸어. 이인도 아니 내손내야 다 타려야 내손을 때나 양조야 바유 지역이 주주 고급도 요 말에서
Arriving in hell, there's nothing one can come to understand there. There's no one to ask there for clarification. There are no means available to one for securing any hope. And the luxury of the thought, I'll be conscientious later. There's no place for such a thought even. All hope, all means to secure greater fortune are lost to one. Every hope dissipates. This is the result of a failure to practice conscientiousness, which one may now.
오야, 이네 인도 때마다 내손을 깨차나 아니 내손을다 타로가 신도 까. 타로 내손을 타로가 신도 까와래. 대난시 대조고 밀로 토가 신도 까와. 대난에 밀로 토바스인데 딱 가장 미시버도 이제 차대 열었어. 어디 임에 때야 지도라다 주주고 지디. 예와다기 마체라스. 지금 대가나가. 예와 다지 마체라스. 와. 예와 다지 마체라 디바 다지 녀르사네. 예와 치와 자니 데르 다야 퇴미 줄 소득시들.
Find yourself in the lower realms. You'll discover the difficulty of liberating yourselves from the lower realms. While liberation from the lower realms is difficult enough, the securing of a fortunate rebirth is difficult enough. Finding a precious human rebirth is all the more difficult and nearly impossible. To show it is so, the 19th verse, never there performing any virtue, only ever piling up my sins, and for 100 million ages, I'll not even hear of happy destinies.
오야, 예와다기 마체라스. 예와다기 마체스 가르다 교와 가르치고 그래. 수수 단단 가지고 교와 지기 열었으나 가지고 빼는 차 책이 열어 제법 표기 열어 아니 밀라 교를 따기 열어 아니 가간 제가 두고 열어 산지고 장도 책이 열다는 교와 가르 마체라스 교와 교와 마체레스 아니 저 땅소나 아니 나한테 지교 교와되게 교와 말을 나는 교와 지기 요 말을 했으나 한 저 땅소나 삼로 가르치 고사를 해서
Never there performing any virtue. What are the virtues we imagine ourselves to be engaged in? We say we are virtuous. We make offerings, we make our prostrations, we help the needy, we visit temples, we visit the Buddha. What are the virtues that we are not engaged in? If one were to ask you, what would come to mind?
일단 알아 섬다이나 다 개와치기 열었으나 개와치기 열었으니 라브르스 차잖아 개와래 저거피네 개와래 아니 수수기 교벌로 로몰로 짐버테네 개와래 아니 그 개와 강아지 두시오 개와 치워랬으나 개와 치워레스 나는 내 개와 준주나 개와 마체라서는 가르치는 개와 마체라 라브르스나 아니 개와 단다 준주나시 개와 제 마체세디 룽아 이 순가 진 개와 제디어 띵아주 지투기야 말해서
I think that these prostrations, making offerings, and giving to the poor are virtues. If one were to ask me, are these virtues? Yes, they're virtues. But what is meant here then by never there performing any virtue? In the way of the Bodhisattva, what virtues aren't performed? What doesn't occur is an integration of body, speech, and mind in virtuous practice.
나 제단다 가르치다 만족을 가르치고 개와 가르쳐 그래스나 나 가도 가정이 강도시 라이스입니다. 안다는 가족이 개와 제세저와 개와 제세다 알 가도 말라잖아 개와 제세다 또 만족이 르가 예수기 개와 진행이 고숨라 르가 르지 개와 아기 개와 이기 개와 아기 개와다 르지 개와 레 이기 개와데 아니 개와 개체와 이봐 이기 개와 야고 주나 용아지 개와 차기 요봐 이기 개와도 야고 맨날 용아지 개와 제나야 개와 제버려 돼 있는 개와 야고 차기 매봐 어디 신지부지 시험을 해서
Virtues are virtues of body, speech, and mind. When we speak of virtue, what we must do, now I think I've spoken of this before. We say we're virtuous. We say it, and the meaning is evidently in body, speech, and mind, we are virtuous. Compared to activities of body and speech, the mental component is more significant, where mentally one's attitude is virtuous, then naturally virtues of body and speech follow. Where the mind is not actually virtuous, but the comportment in body and speech is evidently virtuous. In actuality, body and speech's conduct is not.
공도 또 느껴질 시에는 공부를 주기. 어제 이제 좋아하는 게 됐으니까 되자 시단 팀우메스 되자 시단 팀우메 대결내니 되자 시단 팀우메 대결내니 교와 이스 이제 되자 시단 팀우메바 디 왕사벨 내 가리나 디 교와 이스 세상 교와서도 어디서 거래서
The scriptural basis for this is Nagarjuna's precious garland, I believe. And in the precious garland, Nagarjuna describes virtue is the activity from dispassion, non-hostility, and awareness. Where these are present, the activity is virtuous.
세상 교와 팀에서 보고 지난달 교와스는 다 먼저 단다 주주고 지단 교와 제세된 아주 뒤중 알아도 지대야 돼 교와들세 교와 말에서 이거 말다 교와래다 자산 교와래 이내 단다 뒤 주주고 나라야 아니 교와 마체스 가리 교와 마체 버스도 되자 시단 팀우 매베 교와디 아주 지투요 말 자산 교와 마체스 거래서
Now, we speak of being virtuous. We mean something by being virtuous. And these things we intend when we speak of virtue are virtues. Those are the virtues we mean. It is virtuous. But what is meant here by never there performing any virtue? What is meant is the dispassion, the non-hostility, and the awareness are absent, and the virtue is absent.
아주 뒤중 류다 나기 교와 치고로 숙충부 망세 이 교와도 유유치고 먼저 가상 어떤 배는 차 채고 차는 차도 세계로 차 순자 거저 당가지만 어제기는 차 세계 차 세계가 됐으면 삼로들 딱 뭐만 제사죠 뭐벌 제약의 차시 왜 삼로 나는 삼로 신바스탄 아니 류기베 차세가 제 어디들이 용아 예수 투무로 제 냠도 그 차 세요 말와 이게 차 맞아요 제 류기 차 세도 제사 다다 되자시다 팀무 매세하게 이게 기어도 차기요 말해서
Physically and verbally, we engage in plenty of virtues and fewer mental virtues. When we prostrate and we do prostrations, we may do 3 prostrations, we may do 100 prostrations, however many prostrations we do. And as we do our prostration, as we prostrate, in our mind, we are occupied by things we've done, plans we are making, other thoughts apart from the virtue of prostration. This illustrates how it is that body, speech, and mind are not integrated in our virtues.
Oh, yes. 나라냐 뉴스 나 차트 쇼가 내 차트 책이스 아니 차체 되듯이 차체도 좀 삼로 마땅한데 삼로 쉐바땅 차체는 차대 장가대 교불로라니 차대 교부 차도제 제주 갈래매죠 삼로 때 땅은 선은 장가대 말은 갈래 뭐 카딩이 되도 싫고 아주 뒤 저쪽이 심주체로 심주체는 소화 요구도 와서
Ale de garit sama ani shimba sim ying ne ani gyoko droge dwa. Ani yin and riba jim ne ani kale yore.
삼로그 배 삼이랑 차체배 때문에 그 없나 차대 장가대 다다 말로니 차체도 갈래 거니도 대파도 누구도 삼로 땅 차지만 원 삼로 차 그 체체 아니 삼로고만도 삼로만 제일 어떻게 상이 지기 지고 상이 지 드링에 지고도 상이 지 삼로 땅 차체는 차도 왜 누구만 원 장가로 근데 체체도 갈래 망하니까 좋았어 나 삼로 땅 차체는 그 아니 제 수구대 갈래 카디게도 차대 그 장가대 말로니도 되게 좋아서
And I have my own experiences. In the morning, I do my own prostrations. And I know from experience that when I do my prostrations, when I think of other things as I do them, I'm able to do many of them. And it isn't such an arduous activity at all. I think of yesterday, what I might do, what my plans are, and I can go through many prostrations. And it isn't physically apparently so difficult. But when I concentrate on the prostration, I do fewer prostrations and it entails more exertion. So if you look at your own experience in your own activities, you might find this is my experience.
어디지요? 제가 지고 차 생이 제도 좀 로보그 차체 배 나게 큰에 배지 차 책도 겨루기요. 로그 책이 있네. 셈부터는 숙침보면은 차디 딱 간다 다들 전중이 시야 차 자기요. 겨치 세는 자기요 말해서
Physically, you prostrate. Verbally, you recite a text, and you aren't present mentally. And this is in just the sort of instance of non-virtue. Never there performing any virtue. Apparently a virtue, but in actuality not.
Oh, yes. 땅 아주 단다 책들 대시제도 좀 고불로 책 교림 봐. 되자시단 때문에 대결내는 교환이 있어서 되자시단 때문에 매배 토네. 아? 차리 뒤다 세워이나 다디 덴도 토비아 그로 도구를 해서는 뒤도구를 했어. 어디 좀 거래서
So is Nagarjuna's scripture. From that which follows from dispassion, non-aversion, awareness, that is virtue. Therefore, when one, in one's virtuous activity, when one ensures that the activity is an authentic virtuous activity, then yes, indeed, it becomes cause for future fortune.
예, 그래서 그나 지금 되자 매봐. 제다 매봐. 때문 매봐. 숨 식숨 단계도 왔다 때문 되자 매바 되게 아니 차바다 좀 매바 주세 세다 매바 되게 차바 세다 매바 삼단 아니 고생나 차발리기로 와 때문 매바 되게 아니 가지래 시라부 놀래기로 세다 또 시라부 샘그 동반이 그 삼로다 찬주 샘그 삼로다 아니 그게 되자 인구 딱그 미두거든 삼로 땅샤이나 미다보다 미두고 삼로 땅샤이나 샘도 코드 검대이나 아니 되자 온도 교구 말에 세당 온도 교구 티모 온도 교구 말어서 샘비 아무네 내 차체버데 다다 줄을 더 투야 돼 차기 열에서
아니 메타바다 아니 미도바디 라사마타나
되자 인구 인구 아 세당의 인구 잡아고 봐 티모 인구 아니 돈이 거 들어와 예
dispassion and non-aversion and awareness, non-ignorance. That dispassion is the absence of desirous attachment. Non-aversion is loving affection. And non-ignorance, that awareness, is awareness of emptiness, contemplation of the mind of awakening. When one meditates on uncleanliness, filth, and impermanence, this reduces one's desirous attachment. One becomes dispassionate. When one meditates upon love, one develops that non-aversion. And when one meditates upon emptiness, one develops that awareness, that is understanding, wisdom.
Oloy ta cheda theda de ta ti nyamle de ta samna khade legeresna ta bena tongba ni gom de yena ani timu lo ke ma oni timu de da tongba ni lo ni budi mongba da mari ribai she da mari ba ni budi koni lo ji jina kha ga koni nyam do yong tu ya yo ma nyam do yong tu ma mongba de kena ribai shi ke ma ribai shi kena mongba je ma sa ribai shi mo de jur de sem de mo de jur de na 몽바디 기기 말아왔잖아. 그 개와 채바디 아니 코하게 주지 길러 두고 요레스. 다디나지 주죠 모두 니바다나 세당 매바디 참바로 참바 봄데나 공도 기기 말해. 공도 계서 요 말해. 계서 시 고개 주고 참발래더러 공도 기에나 잡은 매와 채로서 군이 로디 공도 매바다 세당 매바디 유나 아니 님부디기 다다 까셔로 저나 개와 샘이 개와 채버도 누구요? 샘이 개와 채버 더이다. 아니 루지고 샘지 개와 치다 냠돌을 루지 개와 채버이나 용화에서 투모도 차차와 차거든. 그 차와이나 아니 다 덴도 토지기 주스는 다다 준주시하기 때 시고야 유딜레비어 레소스.
Implemented in practice, one meditates upon emptiness. That meditation is the direct antidote to ignorance. Where there is reasoned understanding, there cannot simultaneously be any ignorance. These two are incompatible and never simultaneous in the mind. So where there is reasoned awareness, there isn't any ignorance. Then where there is love and one meditates upon love, there can be no hostility. The moment there is love, the basis for that hostility disappears. Aversion and love too are incompatible and cannot be simultaneously present in the mind. These antidotes are antidotes to desirous attachment and to hostility, where the antidotes direct the mind toward virtue, then the mind, virtuously composed, naturally causes virtues of body and speech, and thereby the activity becomes indeed cause for greater fortune, for the fortune described in the verse. And this is the basis for the verse here.
Oh yeah. 다른 친이버디 디버타 디버타제 열삼 아주 디버디 디베초디 디베기 레디 이만이만에 보가다 때 샤도 셜 가두 내가 전에 디베기 레디 연구열 아니 얘네 여바래 아니 나도 사두 예수 강가라 디베기 초디 아니 바게 되자시다 티무 매바게 얘기 권에 얘기 권에 아니 바기 여디 tumtum에나 아니 내 강도 제바 있네 내 제바 되기디 아니 고아지지 귤을 차도 그러와 고아지지 귤을 차도도 아니 그 디바 차도 그러지 디벨레 차도 그러지 다 디벨레도 그 하장 표현 전부 차도 이만이만은 그 패, 싸셔 그러서
But naturally and inadvertently during the day, we are non-virtuous. It happens inadvertently all day long. Sleeping we may be, eating we may be, at rest, at emotion we may well be. Any time when we are not dispassionate, when we are not non-hostile, when we are not non-ignorant, those times when we are desirous, when we are hostile, and when we are unaware, these all become causes for cyclic rebirth. Because they are causes for cyclic rebirth, we know them to be non-virtues. Non-virtues are overwhelmingly abundant and ever increasing for us.
예, 제단다 개월 레디 마치와지 비벨 레디 싸와 이나 아니 가르치게 그래서나 덴돌레 기가 말은 겐돌레 기가 그래서 아니 겐돌레 개바 이나 아니 가르치는 개바 자타 개바 식숨바되는데 개바 치와 자양 니 있어 개바 자한 자니 덴도다야 더 맞지 개바니 개베 봐도라 아니 덴도 토비야 파시는 덴도고 자대 두고 말해서
And when the non-virtues are overwhelming, then ensured is the rebirth in hell. And there, for 100 million ages, I'll not even hear of happy destinies. Not only will one find no fortune, but one won't even hear of good fortune there.
예, 개바 자리한 다음에 개바 자선데 개바 자자스도마다 배적 치코라는 제시잖아. 개바를 사실 개바 자스도 주자 니자스 고 장가제비 자스야 주 자스난 직세. 다 단다디 개바 자리한스도 배 개바 하장 망보 배 장가제 못해 망보시로 어디 제시 경우 여래서 개바 자리한스.
And for 100 million ages, sometimes 100 is the 100 we understand when we count by tens, 10, 20, 30, up to 100, and it's 100 million eons. But here, it is 100 million eons, meaning actually innumerable eons.
된대래서다 개바스도 어떻게 뭐만 개바가 지기도 개바 개진 찍스나 개진 찍라 아니 배로 가져서나 개진 찍라 로바진 동주축 지워숨 쌓여고 양지니동
양지시
동주축라 동주축라서 지워숨 쌓여고
알아 지워숨 쌓이고
아니 붐붐 이티 어들로 멜로디가 쓰라 아니 계신 찍스기래 개바 찍스 개바 맞아 개바 찍스는 멜로디가 쓰라 아니 개바 자스 좀다 거타가 제 투마로 동주로 들어서 알아 숨구구니 내고 아까라고 실리고
알아 양결시
동주투체 조체 숨자다 조가 숨구구 구구 아니 이 내고시
맞아 Longchur jok. Dine saya yamena.
지와
지와.
지와숨
지와숨.
사야고 무무니티
니치.
니티
아, 니 샤샤나.
아
다디 뭐.
아니 내가 니들 당하는 말한데 깨봤을 때 잠깐 야마투였어 잠깐 야마투야지 나도 지금
네.
일단 깨봤을 때 깨봐 찍스도 아니 뭐 잠깐 야마투야 되지라니 깨봤어요 일단 대제기 아니 링라 아니 덴루 생들 토비아 파션 덴루 자연 암조 고마래서
아니 장르디 테스트 축난 간데 아니 뜻과 사이 말와 테스트 축나 찍라가
질랍시다
but by an age, by an eon, you'll remember that the equivalent of an eon is a staggeringly large number, something to the effect of 6 trillion, 3 billion, 900 million, 900,000, and 920,000, or a staggering number of that magnitude. In any case, during this time, not only will there be no good fortune, but one will not even hear of good fortune.
저는 깨봐도 당가디 모든 야매시대 대치부지 아래에서 깨봐게 먼저 깨봐도 깨신게 로츠야 저와 이거 추억이 야매체야다 대시게 대치부지 아래에서.
Now the age, the eon, in its magnitude, the equivalent number of human years, to comprehend how staggering it is informative for our practice. It's meaningful in that way.
아니 모두 미다버티 시제로 와. 미다버티 시제도 끼지마스 튼두기 끼제로 와서. 세상도 메시지 미다버티 튼두를 쓰려면 맞을 선나 감사 철기 많아. 세상도 삼로 땅도 잡아. 그 끼지 그룹안에서인데 끼지기 라와메가 임바 또야라야. 아니 두 단데 끼어봐 삼로 땅에나 끼어봐 찌기 로유 딜래야 삼로 땅에는 아주 미지직스리 니마치기 나네 가르치기 도착이로 와. 세상 미다보 삼로 땅에나 로디게 니에토는 페펜도시 보여서.
It is beneficial, it is informative, because we are meant to contemplate momentariness and impermanence, the fleeting moment, that it is fleetingly short, momentary. And we meditate upon this, but we don't comprehend it very well. But we would comprehend it if we understood the duration of an age and an eon, how staggering it is, that it would be that the human life that we have presently would be in a lifetime equivalent to a single second in a human lifetime.
야, 선생님 아주 내준데 남자시 기부 충목 가서 내준데 남자시도 봐. 아니 니와가 체제 하게 체제 이다가 체제 심지도 둘도 체제지라. 아니 체제를 비 미기 로라 체제 때문에 아니 건조 체 라보라서 난 깨바되게 뭐 마시는 이게 뭐신 말했어.
And in the presentation of karmic causality in the Dharma of lesser scope, the duration of a lifetime for a hell being, for a preta, for an animal, is measured, and the measure of the eon is the informative basis. So to understand this, understanding the duration, the magnitude of the eon is important.
그 개와 도구를 써야 돼. 개와도 간대임이 뭐줘야 돼. 드링 로진 되게 돈 조지 모시고 대차돼요. 그래서
So there we'll conclude the instruction in the way of the Bodhisattva with this, the making familiar to us of what is meant when we hear never there performing any virtue. What would the virtues be? What are the failures of virtue in body, speech, and mind when we have this precious human rebirth with the leisures and the endowments? What are virtues? What are the non-virtues? So to introduce this, or the familiarity for understanding the verse, I've described it so.
땅도 심중 제시에 대해서 자고래서 심중을 제시해. 다 심중 계산하고 초와 제시를 심중합중 아직은 군중아는 당보 초와 이번 뒤시 이번 뒤시에 봐. 다 근데 이제 초와들은 어떻게 초와를 뭐에 남바체다. 초와도 뭐에 남바체. 그러니까 초와 뭐에 남바체 땅도 초와 대화 주나? 아니 초와 용도 좀 대화 용하다 능의 용하세. 자 난데 빼지나 대화 용하다 능의 용하세 제시디 아니 제부 남이 제부 대화 용하다 남이 제부 능의 용하세 제시 잡여래서
아니 근데 그래서 대화다
초와니 나
좀 되네
대두파
대두 아니 바로
파마숨이로 와 디나네 다들 저 무슨这些 做야고사도 좋아 대화도 동해로 와 파마도 좋아도 용되고 얼마나 이세게 냠내지도 공부세这些게 고마워 일단은 좋아 대화도 동해这些 야는데 대화 용어 동해 용어서도 좋아 딜을 때랑 제부 대화 용어 남이 제부 대화 용어다 남이 제부 동해 용어다 这些 개별해서
we will resume the primary consciousness with the mental factors, mind and mental factors. And we last week investigated feeling, one of these 5 omnipresent or continuous mental factors of feeling: discrimination, intention, contact, and mental engagement. These 5. That feeling is the experience of sensation that is pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant. The presentation of feeling in the omnipresent mental factors is informative in terms of practice for its description of the fully ripened result that is the experience of the sensation that is pleasant, and the fully ripened result that is the experience of the sensation that is unpleasant, especially, and less critical, less important, is the neutral or the experience of sensation that is neither pleasant nor unpleasant. The emphasis here is on the fully ripened result that is the experience of sensation of pain, experience of the sensation of pleasure, these 2 especially.
이나 초와 대화 용어세디 이외에 유지된 체바나 양조배 마체월 되바디 대화를 자리요레스 세우사서 동해생인데 동해의 체들이 바 체월 되바지요와 오 대체로 초와 동해스 꼭 한다 초와 용당 돈에 아니 그 대화 초와의 용용도 코데 미체월 체원도 초와 대화가 뭐를 보여 코다 텐도가 나바질래도 저와 동행이 나바질라고 들리지 마. 시기를 해서.
And of feeling, the experience of a sensation that may be pleasant or unpleasant, by definition, that which is pleasant is the sensation which, when experienced, the experiencer wishes not to be parted from. And the experience of a sensation that is
painful or a sensation that is unpleasant is such an experience of a sensation that is painful when the experiencer wishes to be parted from the sensation. So it is defined.
that's what the that's what you went number chance. So that's what the coach patching. Then you but dushi bus. That's Kunduniva. Dushi bus in the Rangula round of the summer zimbe, Sim Jones, Rangi Yula. I like my teeth. What's again? I'm sure you did that. But I see. He doesn't shoot. Need show go to the lower. Should do you do Shinata?
Sumba simple this is like
You were to see him all you know.
Our two texts are different page numbers apparently, and
You see, said they Rangi Yula, although it's Samar Zimbazilla, and Duchess.
Discrimination. The mental factor that apprehends the object by the very force of the object itself.
All the same to the Duchess in the all the delicious. That Duchess now, but the Samar Zimba, Duchess Samarzim, Rangula Samar Zimba, said the Samar Zimba said the Samar Zinada, Samar Zimba said the Chapartilla, Yula Chabar. Cheber, you cheberum, and putting my debate, cheber singing the law, and Samuel Zimbasi or else. So,
the mental factor that apprehends the characteristics of the object by the force of the object itself, that is the definition. This is the definition of discrimination. By apprehends the characteristics, we mean the properties, the unique properties of the object, where they are distinguished and not left in confusion. This is the apprehension of the object's characteristic.
oh, yeah, that name, the Kung the Tom was it. That Dushel Yena said, there was the Dushel Yena, Samar Zimbe, Dushet and Tower Zimbe, Dushini, or the Yimoduchana, and he got the settled. Samar Zimbe, Dushet and Tower Zimbe, Dushini. Or the subject to know your
there are divisions of discrimination into these: the discrimination that is the apprehension of the characteristics, and the discrimination that is the apprehension of the clarity of characteristics.
This one. Oh, yeah, that Dushi Samazimbe Dushi Tambudreda. Samazimbe Dushi Sindi. One Shenga Yoroa. One Shengagi, 아니 저 뒤시게 봐. 원신가 뒤시게 가르면 원신가 미기 옹볼 차잖아. 미기 옹복이 가도로 와. 미기 옹복이 가도도 쏘겠다 그래. 아니 자기 나시 옹복이 자다서 옹복 수수도 유 예벌 제대로 와. 어디가 옹복 수수 거기 유 이거라도 빼도 알을 옹복 강가 작업니다. 미기 옹복 작인다. 미기 옹복이 아니 가도 예와 그 세보다 마모다 두둑도 더 맞게 생기로 와. 더 맞게 짐바디 아니 가르스나 참말 짐바 생들에 예수 미기 옹복 가도 잘 생각. 옹복가 되는 망고 찾아봐.
Now, the divisions of discrimination into first, the discrimination that is apprehension of the characteristics or properties of the object without confusion, describes there are the sense faculties, vision and the rest, and visual consciousness and the other consciousnesses derived from the sense faculties. We won't go into every one of the five. Let us take vision to begin with, vision that apprehends colors and shapes. And in the visual consciousness, the identification and discrimination of properties of color, yellow from red, red from the other colors. This is the apprehension of the characteristics of the object, that is discrimination.
따디 좀 맞게 버지바데 아니 참아지 마세 다 짜워 짐바세 이거 짜워 짐에 되시 생이디 아니 옹볼로 맞아지 이기 넘버 셔봐 이기 넘버 셔베 이 코드 중에 이 넘버 셔베 코지 아니 되시 가부터 디공볼 한일 짐바죠 와 디공보 디세버다 디스 카도 디데레스 아 짐바 이 탄이 짐바죠 와 어디를 짜워 짐바스 아니 된다 타이니요.
Ale, tunda tani ni.
Tuen-
Ale,
tuen
lesa
zimba.
ani chawar lamna chiran chawar lamna ani selchagi tunda ro.
Selchag, oh.
Yinandi
Marga-
dila tunda ro marwa.
대대나마 짜워 짐바스 온보디 타지 지부디 된 공보다 유인이 체험도 아니 온보 코란 온보 대랑 통화마도 탄이 지고 말와. 짜워 짐바디 따디 세부 이래다 탄이 잘 콜라 탄이 잘네 아니 짐바 지고
La la la.
근데 탄이 잘 짐바 해야 돼 얘기 좀 지금 말와.
La la. The second form of discrimination is the discrimination of the clarity. The discrimination that is the apprehension of the clarity. Now, this is discrimination which applies only to the mental consciousness, whereas the other form of discrimination applies to the sense consciousnesses derived from the sense faculties. Here, discrimination that is the apprehension of clarity applies only to mental consciousness. It applies in this way that we have terms such as blue and yellow, and have notions of this being blue, and this is in fact yellow, and this is the color is yellow. There are, for the sense faculties and the discrimination involved in these, no use of any such concept. But here, for mental consciousness, there is the application of a concept, and here then there is discrimination that is the apprehension of the clarity.
간다 되면 맞대버 되는데 또 맞추봐 맞대버 짐바디 아니 참아짐바세 참아짐바세 딱 탄이를 와 까보다 세보다 마무 밍다 탄이로 와 탄이 맞대버 짐바디 아니 짜워 짐바스 어디지 바듯이 대시 자당 개발을 했어
Where the discrimination that is the apprehension of the property, or discrimination that is the apprehension of the characteristic, is the apprehension of the character of the property by the sense consciousness without any involvement of concept or term. The involvement of concept and term defines discrimination that is apprehension of the clarity. Tani matebar.
아니 맞대버.
야라 matebar.
맞대버 지마데.
Tani
네,
matebar.
지마데 짜르지 마스.
Tani matebar labnani jema mazon. Machugni.
맞대버 카라도 세우지.
Where the discrimination between terms is done with no confusion of terms. There is the apprehension of the apprehension with clarity. The apprehension with clarity.
일단 제일 봐야 될 시제는 다다 뒤시니어와 다 참아지바다 저르지바니기 뒤시니부티 아니 죽사기 시디 가스다 통화 미기 통화 암조 퇴바서와 퇴바니제 아니 통화도 퇴바니 가라 아니 치라 제발도 제발 체네 아니 딸 때네 인생을 때네 아니 되시에바 또 저와 아니 또 직세 야 인생을 맞된 거지 이 넘버 세도 무슨도 하고 와 셰발라 때네 아니 단위 또 봤다 근데 단위 또서 길이었다 근데 자월 짐바 진당 저와 자월 짐바당 아니 참만 짐바 생기되게 거기 진당 유치단 가르스나 반응도 어묵 통화 해봐 아니 이기 도박이 인생 삼로 따네 하고 와 인생 삼로 마도 무슨 용화 열어봐 어디 시고는 아니 근데 제발 치고 해서
시디가 오 샤기 비시 시디 거네라 라라
오마 보셔 당가시
장가면 저 시
힘내 시도 통화세 퇴바세 아니 딸 때는 예봐 딸 인생 때는 예봐세 아니 인생도 통화만 무슨도 예봐 인생 삼로 따 먹어 한다 무슨 예봐 시 어디 시고는 아니 거다 유리 하게 뒤시 진단도 근데 시고 연구를 해서
아니 원순데 아니 그 세마르진 바로 세마르진
당고 딜자다 당고 옹볼자다
맞어
옹볼을 통화도特别 니어와
민다 심바 양여로
말 옹볼을 통화도 特别 먼저 요만
왕보다
미국
통화
내용부 特别
아니 드네 심바 아니 디젤레다 가서 보면서
이제 딜레고 말
알았어
거다도 딜나 용 말에 통화 特别 인자다 뒤시디 뒤시디를 본이랑 자로 그래
알았어 다 드네 와서 드니 다 드네 아니 따라 드네 당 응원숨
다디 또 어디 딜라 대행은 뭐 저어 좀 좋아 이게 제바디 아니 유 거기 단위 도단디 아니 따라 인생을 때는 단위 도단지 하서 아니 무슨 용어 때는 단위 도단지요
알아 타니 제자니 따라 드네다 응원숨 아니 그래서 자와르 짐바단 자와요 알아 드네 tö바단 통화디
또 참말지마
세마르짐바 맞
뭐니 뭐지 오보자도 참말지마
Two forms of discrimination are then discrimination that is the apprehension of properties of the object, and discrimination that is clarificatory apprehension. The former, in this discussion, especially applied to vision and audition, to seeing and hearing. So these two, seeing and hearing, described in terms of discrimination, that is the apprehension of the properties of the object. Then there is the use of logical demonstration using what would be sufficient proof to draw a conclusion. This is discrimination that is clarificatory apprehension. It involves terms. Also, direct perception may too.
공부도 저기 된 탄이다고 말어. 그 된다다 지머시로. 또 보다 무슨 얘기 셔봐 되게 그게 명다야다. 탄이도 타고 어디. 뭐는 네 유디로 몸보스 명다데 세보스 명다 탄이다 봐. 다야도 또배 다야 인생 통을 거네 다야지. 양수수고 용화 통 용화는 다지.
And therefore here, vision and hearing especially are the context for discrimination, that is apprehension of properties of the object. This discrimination does not involve concepts or terms, but we have two forms here that do involve concepts and terms insofar as they are involved in mental consciousness rather than sense consciousness. The mental consciousness employs the concept and the term. It may employ a logical proof to draw a conclusion, but it also might inform itself through sensory experience, nevertheless with the involvement of a concept or a term. Therefore, there are two forms here to the discrimination that is clarificatory apprehension.
셈 가와 자와 지기 있는 이 코드를 내가 뒤시선 고요. 제가 뒤시 디스다 단어도 좀 뒤시 테스트 로고에 차그래. 단다 안에 뒤시 나는 참을 좀마다 짜와 좀마 생기기. 특히 하고 하잖아. 근데 더 봐서는 그 마음 땅 속에서 안에 되는 대상으로 들어왔는 데 저어서
Discrimination involved in apprehension of properties of objects and clarificatory apprehension too are informative, and there is more ahead regarding these, but where you have some notion of the difference between discrimination, that is apprehension of characteristics of objects or properties of objects, and discrimination that is clarificatory apprehension involving terms oriented now with those, you might be able to purchase somewhere, and we'll explore them more too later.
Yeah. 한편에 치고가 되는 뭐 시력당 호소.
I'll conclude there, and then if there is anything we have to discuss further, we can do so now.
I have a couple of questions. The first question is, Geshe-la, are you saying that apprehension of property mostly applies to seeing and hearing, or does it actually apply to all of the sense data or sense experiences? That's the first question. The second question is not really quite understanding apprehension of clarity. I think I have an understanding maybe when apprehension of clarity links to conceptual understanding, because in tenets where labeling is important, right? To be able to clearly label what the sense data is actually bringing in, that makes sense. But I'm not quite understanding it beyond kind of like this mental, the mental sense as opposed to the hearing, seeing. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay.
And then aside from the interpretive, the apprehension of clarity might just as well be translated as clarificatory apprehension.
Yes.
I'll use clarificatory apprehension.
Okay, that's good.
지단데 아니 타워를 짐베 아니 두시 세리에 되다 아니 치마를 짐베 두시 세리에 되네게 아니 단다 아니 롭섬들 시선 하고선 얘네 테스 트레이스래 양 지단데 타워를 짐베 두시 디 아니 똑바단 잡아디 라 딱바 아니 딱베 실라 딱발라 때네 아니 타워를 짐베 디시 이게 뭐어디 아니 저어디 요로 저어디 요로 아니 가르치네 저어딘지 요레스럽나 아니 접타기 차네 접타면 라와 아니 접타라 아니 딱베 실라 딱베 딱쳐 딱베 쳐데 양겨 전부터 요로
또 독실내는 레벨와 나는 저 되나 타니 맞아 비 빼는 콜수 가도 몸부 가도래 몸부 세워서 그 시들 맹따기로 와
시디 코로나 시기유 시라
시들 맹 타니 넣어야 딱 단위가 똑바지로 와 그래서 단위 돈이 되라 똑바지다 무슨 짓이 열어 와
어디 다켄딜
단위 방면도 당고 똑바기 자기 받지 내지를 똑바디 베레다스 똑바디 짐바지 열어 그나 밀처럼 민랍잖아 민처럼 샤에스 민다기 따서지라 그냥 통도 좀 샤에스 샤에스 얘기 똑바지 열어 샤에다 샤에 도구도 샤에 되고도 샤에다 좀 똑바지 와 똑바지 다 똑바디 말고 똑바디 제로 일로 또는 셈부터 셈이 그럼 저도 좀 제일 아니야 무슨 유해 돈에 걸었다 또 일틀 다니 도야 여러
아니 영어들 되네 아니 영어도 이게 개발
영어도 똑바다 맞아 무슨 게 돈에 민다 여러 어디를 어디 다니다 맞대야
아네 제자니 단이 답에 시만 잡아 요래 영어 직접
다니 봐 똑바지 똑바 많이 버지 니여라
똑바라나네 이 거래서 똑바데 타니 단체 뭐
다니도 말해 똑바스 빈센 삼로 땅데 아니 밖에 민땅이 저러와 근데 제바 참아요와 제바 참아도 무슨 참아요와 제바 참아기 다니지다 그래 무슨 게 당이 있다 그래.
알았어.
그래서 거기 로니 차기도 와. 녀와서 무슨 뭐지? 아니 똑같이 돼. 뭐가 제바자고.
알았어. 알았어. For in vision, there's a use of terms for properties in vision. For instance, color yellow, color blue, applied to yellow color, blue color, and it's a name and a term applied with a rationale to a given basis in the object, the property of the external object. So there's one source for the attribution of a term to a data. The one uses inferential valid cognition and links the term to the object to which it applies, and the other uses experiential direct valid cognition to identify the object to which a given term justifiably applies. So there are these two underlying operations for the attribution of a term to a given datum. The one is the inferential valid cognition, and the other is the experiential direct perception.
유아기 톤 당연히 다바디 미 페벌은 망고요 말에 봐서 그래서 냠샤 돈이 동호숨도 돈이 미다 봉호숨도 돈이 많이 내려요 봐 어쩌라 유아 톤은 당연히 도버디요 그래서 유아도 당연히 도버디요사 장가지 장으로 와 마도 니 그냥 알아서 돈이 무슨도 마도니 어ዛ 미규모이라 망치해서 아니 니가네 동백 아니 동백 망아요 무슨 거 당연히 동백이 망고 위험하네 무슨 거 당연히 동백은 또 가서 염려세 토고요 메다 무슨 거 돈이 무슨 거 돈이 뭐도 들려요
The attribution of a term as the operation of direct experiential valid perception is comparatively rare, but we must count it nevertheless as among the forms of operations to the attribution of a term to a given datum. But it is uncommon, for this is an operation in those Aryas in their equipoise who have direct perception of impermanence or direct perception of emptiness. The direct perception is the operation then for their comparatively uncommon attribution of a term to a given datum. But we, ordinary people who haven't had direct perception of impermanence, direct perception of emptiness, we are involved in the conceptual operation that does the attribution of a term to a given datum. Are there any others? We might hold it there for now and continue the discussion next week. But are there other questions?
Thank you, Geshe-la. I have a couple of questions. The first is about a text that would be helpful in familiarizing ourselves with this. And I'm curious if the text that Geshe-la is working with is a necklace for those of clear awareness, clearly revealing the modes of minds and mental factors by Yishi Gyaltsen.
Oh,
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
the number the namsha and the koto levi chedu and the chakpe shimba and the taya karikari yore and the gishi dandara and the zik shimbe and the debdi the Jin Zangi Karisa that the Kare and the Yeshi Gelsingi Zebe Shung Chakpe Rebe Yeshi Gelsingi.
군대인데 새벽 따져 군대. 이 이지도는 돼요. 스타기는. 이지도는 되니까 뭐 야이 때 이지도는 이거 되셔. 이단단 시작해서.
Gyagera.
야게 때 이지도 이거 된 사람스. 이거 제주 땅은 차고요 말은.
What I'm referring to here is Buddhist science and philosophy, a compendium that is available now in translation in English and in Chinese. If you were to refer to it, you'd be able to make out the material, the subject matter, make it out clearly.
The online like you.
Done.
Buddhist science and philosophy. And then
이지도 된 대치 이만 누가 해줘서 잡았어.
The announcement that it had been published in English, I've seen that announcement, so I know that it is. Classical Indian thought, Buddhist sciences, Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist psychology.
you know what, it's got 4 volumes. I just got them actually, so I'm curious, do we know which one this is in?
The second.
The second one, great,
Mm.
thank you. And then my next question was around discrimination. Is it the same as the skanda of discrimination, and are both parts of this are the two together that skanda? Is the skanda also disaggregated into 2 parts in the same way?
The dishi seri di pongpongage nansen desin chik yorwa pongpo chik ani dishi re ani dishi di dan chikpa chik yang ribe chikpa chik yang ribe ani pongpo di yang ani yewa chena ani mindrawa ni takaran dendri yorbe desin chikpa chik yang. They're the same, yes, same disaggregated feeling and discrimination and consciousness, feeling discrimination. These are as skandhas, the same as the mental factors. Any simjung dan chikba. Same.
Just those 2 are the same.
The dini mato shimba denzo ni chikba marwa. The feeling aggregate, and the feeling mental factor are the same, huh? It is the skandha is found in these mental factors. It is the mental factor. 아니 풍보 서로 풍보디 아니 르단자와 아니 데발라야 아니 심단자와
말 소화도 뭔가는 장가제도 소화도 여러 소화가 되도 다들 집어지게 여러 그다음에 심중 군르다는 장가제도 심중 되게 사상 장가제도 소화도 간데 시켜와다니 뒤시 때는 이제 집어지고 그래서 뒤시 때는야 아들 군루 보게 소화도 군루니가 군루다는 셈기 자와지도 아니 건조 로바치다 군중가 보고 열어
음.
그래서 니나는 뒤시에 좋아지 레서
The feeling of the five aggregates there, the feeling that is sensation of pleasure, displeasure, or neither pleasure nor displeasure, that in the framework of mind and mental factors is the very feeling of the omnipresent mental factors, the first feeling itself, the very same one. And in the five skandhas, the discrimination too is here found in the omnipresent mental factors.
아니 신바가
And others.
야 아니 대샤와 그래도 안다 뒤시에 거라면 저를 생긴 뒤에 야채 안다 뒤시에 거라 다 참아 짐바서 더고만 보여다 제바 그 심중 그 남샤도 레단 가가라 파주 제와 유디 아니 남산 소화기에 가고 있어서 철하나는 저바치도 잡아 아니 대세만고 다들 그 수제들 좋았다는 거 듣나시 아니 본봉아 대시 직사 안데 그 고도가 직사 아니 본봉아나는 고도가나는 가져 유매 고도가나는 본봉아나는 가져 유매 또 제바치 오랬어 어디래도 곧 남산 년도에 막 가지고 초진 미기 통하여 라바송에게 매요 미기 통하여 예지를 제바치 그러서 이는 다 소대 가서 갈선 유용하나도 셈 삼모 셈이 자와치도 잡아 아니 나 간데스 치고이면 소화가 가르치고면 셈 코라도 냠도 소화가 가르러 같이 도이네 뉴시 가르러 같이 도이네 어떤 소 디듯이 얘기를 해서
Now, in the functions of mental factors, there is invited. The function of mental factors invites considerable debate, which is hashed out on the debate grounds. In fact, for instance, along the lines of Sujata's own question, you might ask of these disaggregated five skandhas and the five mental factors, where are they the very same common skandhas found in the mental factors? Where are the mental factors the very same as that which is found in the skandhas? This is basis for considerable debate. And then there's that which is evident, and then there's that which is less evident in terms of the function of a given mental factor as it's involved in accentuating a primary consciousness. How do the various mental factors accentuate various primary consciousnesses? These are all issues that may be debated.
아니 다 이게 취미 시집이 되어들 때는 즉 따라서 취미 시집을 대다 탐지 안에 산주고 쌤 귤에 깨워다 산주고 쌤 권는 권도 빼와 아니 쌤제 탐지 되어 토에 귤을 줘서 뭐는 잡지 산에 뭐는 두기 손치
The discoveries had through today's lesson, whatever they might be, may they become contributing cause to the development of the mind of awakening and to the intensification of the mind of awakening where it has already arisen, and cause for the contentment and well-being of all sentient life. With this end in mind, we recite the closing verse.
Tema Zumbe Zera Gundu Yang, Manjambe Yanji Tsewe Jizone. Tembe Remba Kusan Lanji Cho, Mandine Rube Jela Niju Cho. Rangi Jishin Tobe Lanji Ne, Shuja Tsewe Chanwe Tagi Rove Yiji Mumba Seje Ne, Jave Temba Yuri Zenju Temba Rinjin Choge Majagong, Jagya Nyambara Gyurve Chole Ne, Yiji Chembe Yirava Jewa Yi, Pene Teje Sevara Jeva Cho, Seje Jave Meju Chile Le Ju Chanju Lage Rembe Yang, Ade Naje Yila Vede Jing, Yave Zeva Rindu Jangirji, Lanzan Drube Dunje Ruje Jing, Yege Seje Medam Mime, Sera Kundu Jave Mamba Yi, Namda Landa Java Magirji, Kanse Teko Jolo Juju Suje Rola Tumba Di, Tude Naje Tado Roje Raje Yato Chugun Jagu Chi.
From my two collections, vast is space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds, wisdom, eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, my Manjushri. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by following the complete graduated path to enlightenment and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings that eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent path never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the sinful Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the Mighty One, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.
Dagi Chini Sabe Gewa Li Tendan Jowa Kulan Gangenda Chebar Jezun Losan Rabba Yi Tembe Nimbo Rindu Seje Sho Pare Rawe Kurve Shingan Le Pendan Dewa Alu Jambe Tere Sewan Tinzi Jaso Yi Chave Sinte Vartu Tenju Jambe Babu Chedar Chemba Dang Kundu Zambu Teyang Dejende Eda Gunge Jesu Talu Chi Gewa Deda Tamche Rabdu Tuzo Shebe Gewa Tamche Ge Moa Ramba Chudu Mawa Taye Gewe Tawa Digu Yang Sambo Chuji Radu Novarege Chanju Sencho Rembo Che Maje Bana Jigurje Gewa Nyamba Meba Yang Kune Mundu Ewara Sho.
I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Lozan Jumbo to shine forever. In the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful sentient God, please remain until cyclic existence is ended. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra do realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious thus gone ones of the three times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the supreme jewel of Bodhisattva that has not arisen, arise and grow. And may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more.
Good night.